Hey, Mike. Hope you're well. Thank you for taking the time. When you look at your spot on this team and on this roster, just hoping I could get your opinion on where things stand right now and where you're, hoping to end up.
Um,
And if they've told you the role for you.
no, I guess, the thing about a team like this is that there's always going to be a lot of really, really talented players that are around. So the competition's always going to be, there's a high level of competition. And there's things that I want to do and work on this spring and that's going to kind of be my primary focus. Um, Stuff like roster construction, I don't really have any say in it other than what I'm showing in terms of performance and my work day to day. So that's just kind of what my focus is.
Thank you.
Sweeney Murdy, you have the next question.
Mike, how are you? It's good to see you. How much time did you spend thinking about last season and your performance last season compared to the year before? There are a lot of players who dealt with a lot of things last year, and it's easy to explain away some of those things. What kind of answers did you kind of come up with when you thought about last season versus 2019 for you?
Obviously, kind of like you said, it's a difficult season to evaluate in that there wasn't a ton of opportunity and time to if I felt like I had a bad few weeks and then next thing you know the season's over and that's not saying that you don't have to perform because regardless of what's going on, it's the game's about performance and I didn't perform to the level that I expect out of myself. So when I got home, I tried to identify the things that I could do to improve myself. And I got to work pretty quickly on some of those things. And then I just tried to also keep it in perspective. It was like, hey, it was a strange year. And, I had a conversation with some of the hitting coaches and we kind of decided, this is what it was last year, but we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about this year. And,
So what are some of those things you identified, Mike?
So for me, my bat path got a little bit out of whack and it led me to being consistently underplaying and a little bit disconnected, which I believe directly correlated to my struggles against velocity. So I kind of attacked the off season with some work to create a tighter, flatter bat path that would allow me to cover the pitches that are, you have to cover if you want to play this game.
And I know this is probably how you approach every spring so far, but given the competition for spots right now, is performance this spring, is putting up production this spring, maybe at more of a premium for you?
You always want to play. Every time you're out there, you want to play well. But once again, if I come into spring training and you're looking at maybe 50 at bats and you hit 10 balls right on the screws and you line out, so for me, it's in the season there is a level of back of the baseball card surface level production. I think in spring training you can dive a little bit deeper to say, well, I had 2 at bats today and one I walked and one I lined out to the center fielder. That's a pretty good day, if you ask me. But you always want to play well. You always want to have production. I think there's been thousands of times that you'll see a guy doesn't get a hit all spring and he'll start the season out with a 20-game hitting streak, vice versa. So I think quality of work, building the capacity up to be playing back-to-back games, playing different positions, being able to just kind of check some of those boxes off is always going to be a priority in spring. Going first to third, stealing a base, maybe coming in a game late and to simulate, the times that happens during the year. I think those things are more of a priority than, I'd love to hit 400 this spring. If I don't hit 400 this spring, I think I'll still be okay.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if I can ask one last one. Has playing first base to maybe improve some of your versatility, has that ever been brought up to you? Have you talked about it? Anything this spring about that?
It's not been brought up to me. I have a little bit of experience in there dating back to college. If it was ever brought up to me, I'd be willing to get out there and give it a go.
We'll take the next one from Pete Caldera.
Hey, Mike. Boone the other day kind of mentioned in passing that he thought you were a little bit banged up physically also last year, and I was wondering if that was also something you were dealing with last summer.
I guess I had some issues with my shoulder, but I felt as though I was good enough, healthy enough to be in the lineup. It wasn't something that I felt like could take me on. Could have affected my performance, or I compensated and built some bad habits. It's possible, but I don't want to use that as an excuse, because at the end of the day, production wasn't there to the level that I hold myself to. So I spent a lot of time this offseason addressing that well, and I feel great. I feel as though my body is in a really good spot right now. And I'm just, kind of excited to play in some games coming up.
Thank you.
Next one to Lindsay Adler.
Hey, Mike, I'm just curious, how much were you in touch with the Yankees coaching staff or other people within the organization as you were working on things like your bat path?
I decided this offseason I'm going to try to take a little bit more film of my work days hitting wise. So I would say probably I would talk to either PJ or Marcus on a weekly basis, maybe just shoot them a quick clip, say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, and just kind of get their feedback and be kind of have that a little more of a communication aspect there. So I would say once a week or so, I would talk to one of those guys and get their opinions or get their feedback on what I was doing.
Great. And we'll take a final question from Brian Hoke.
Hey, Mike, just to follow up on the shoulder injury, was that your throwing shoulder or your right shoulder? And how did that happen?
It was my right shoulder. It was a old injury that just requires maintenance, and I think that just some of the nature of the our season with the start and stop and then multiple games and trips spreading of it just kind of got a little bit aggravated, and played through it the best I can. Like I said, though, it wasn't something that I felt like was an injury list thing, and I don't consider it an excuse. I don't consider it a like something that should say, oh, well, I was this or whatever, because the bottom line is if you can play, there's a level of production expected. I felt like I could play, and I didn't produce the way that I wanted to.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much for the time.